part of the SHIPIT Nation community. I enjoy the Discord. I get a lot of information out of the Discord, and then I use the site, so all the Slate plans, Slate info, all that, the DVP stuff. I would say join a site because they do help and you get all the information and it saves you so much time.
What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, aka ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition, the first edition of this NFL season. Week 1 is here. We're so excited. Christmas Day for all of us out there watching. We appreciate you. Got the same crew as always. Going to run it back with Hoopster, Title, and myself every Sunday here, 9:45 a.m. Eastern. So I appreciate all you on the West Coast, especially getting up bright and early. If you're watching this on replay, smash the like. If you're here now, smash the like. Subscribe to the channel. When we get to 8,000 subscribers, going to be doing another huge giveaway. And we got some giveaways for today's show as well. Going to be giving away some free memberships. Hoopster, I'll bring you in first. We played the success video from last year. A couple Millie Maker winners, tons of six-figure scores. We all had pretty big years on this show here. But how you doing, my friend? It's Christmas Day for us. We're excited.
Yeah, I mean, Thursday night football was fun and everything, and we pumped it up like it was, Christmas Day. But man, this is the official Christmas Day for what we do. I mean, the showdown stuff's great. It was fun. A lot of members had success. A lot of people on our team had success. But this is the real deal right here. The full first NFL Sunday of the season. Could not be more excited to get this thing started. Massive contest around the industry in terms of what we're offering at SHIPIT Nation. All our content is up nice and early. You're not going to have to sit around all morning and wait till our guys post their core plays or whatever piece of content they're putting out there. All our shit's already up on the website, ready for you to consume. The Discord's popping. I am pumped, man. I cannot wait. Cannot wait for this slate. Super exciting. And then, these shows will be here every Sunday morning, same time, same place, same faces. And, we had a lot of success last year on the show, a lot of good calls, a lot of fun back and forth. And we're just looking to build on that this season. And we're ready to roll. I mean, I'm ready to roll. It's time to check in. Let's go, boys.
Yeah, let's get a title. Before I bring you in, real quick announcement, just over 100 likes before we get started. Love to see that. This might be the year we smash 500 likes on this show. We'll give away an annual football membership with Shiptimizer, which we'll be showing off. We got a lot more good stuff, tools added this year with the merger. Shout out to our guy, James, Degenerate75, out there running the college football streets right now and getting his health together. We appreciate him. And he's got the stone that he brought over. So we're going to be showing that off as well as we go game by game. Title, bring you in, man. It was a huge start to the week. Shout out to our boy Marley, by the way, all the members that crushed. But Title, what's going on, man? Free Money Sunday. We're back.
Let's go, baby. Can't be more excited. And shout out Big Marley. I mean, one of the best screenshots you'll see. 2 lineups. He had it in the other stuff. Yeah, actually, that was his main lineup. There's a $5 single entry. That's what he had. So $160 and $112,000. That's how you start off week 1. Come on, baby. Free Money Sunday, week 1. A lot of chalk. Pricing's been out for a while. Hoop and I talked on the cast show about that. Something that I've always heard years and years back since I got in DFS. Week 1, there's so many unknowns. Week 1 and week 2 are great. Week 1, there's a lot of chalk, concentrated chalk, but who knows at the end of the day? We haven't seen them play what coaches are going to do. Week 2, everyone over adjusts. What happened week 1 is going to happen week 2. Then you can get off it that way. So, yeah, cash games, at least a lot of pretty obvious chalk. Excited to talk some tournaments, though, how we can get different.
Yeah, it's week 1 when the very first question is in there. It's nothing to do with let's go or happy day or we're back. It's shout out to our guy, Todd Kyle. Just the thoughts on Zach Moss. We'll get there when we get to the game by game. And Hoop, I want to start off talking about something that Title just mentioned, and you're probably best to talk about this. I mean, if anyone doesn't know Hoop and his background, you're here now watching. We appreciate you. It's, playing a lot of high stakes and cash games and play the best plays and all that. Obviously migrated over. You still know what to do with that, but you found a way to sort of convert it to tournaments. And then obviously a year and a half ago, winning the Millie Maker. Last season, you had a bunch of success in tournaments as well. Here's my week one note, and I want to get your thoughts on this. This pops up in my phone every year. We obviously take this very serious. So many unknowns, let others make mistakes, play the projections, and even lock in a couple cheap good guys. We got a cheap good guy later on that we'll talk about to allow more of the knowns popping in. If you've got studs like Jefferson this week, Tyreek Hill, maybe some of those guys, and then you can kind of get different just with your stacks and still get away with some of this chalk. I think everybody looks to go completely off the board. For me, that's more in week 2 when everybody thinks they know everything from week 1. Some adjustments for week 1, though. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the strategy talk, like you'll hear, over the course of the season is a lot of week-to-week stuff. Like, you can't apply something you do in week 2 to week 3, week 3 to week 4. I mean, you got to take each slate individually. But week 1 has historically seen a lot of similar type things. And one thing I think, one way this week 1 differs from previous week 1s is there's not as many just like absolute standout values. We got the wide receiver for the Bengals that we'll talk about. The guy's going to be very highly owned. He's 3K. T. Higgins is out, but we usually have like 8 of those guys on a slate. We're not necessarily seeing that this week, but like you said, the 2 things that remain pretty consistent in week 1, there's going to be a couple random dudes that just pop off and go off, and they're going to be fantasy assets for the remainder of the season. But a lot of times these obvious standout plays or the good values or following the projections have typically done well in week 1. So just to add on to your point, you just don't need to be looking to do the crazy off the wall stuff, which we'll get to when we go game by game and break it all down. But yeah, I think it's a very valid point. But again, the one thing I'll say it's a little bit different this year is there's not a ton of those like ridiculous standout cheap value type plays.
Yeah, I agree. And Ted, I'll get your thoughts in a second. But before I do, some of the other founding family in here, shout out to our guy Newlands, Go Collect, Sean Sullivan, just lots of good people joining us today. Kim's here. She wants to know about Dak. We'll get to that. Obviously, last year, Hoop had his business decision on Dak. Shout out to our guy Rob Mazika, just absolutely crushing it. Got to meet him last year at the King of the Beach and his girl. So awesome to see him down there. Hopefully this year we can get to another live final. There's our boy Marley, man, look at those arms too. Big Marley. He said he was going to set personal records after that. Could barely sleep. $116 into 112K. Landa's in the building for his guy.
Landa, he's been with us from day one, man. Always.
Yeah, man. He's a Hoop fan, but he's got us in the mix as well. So we appreciate you, Landa. Lots of other people that we're seeing from previous years watching us, and just awesome to see our guy Steven Neighbors is in the building. Title, I'll let you go ahead. I'll pull some more up just to say thanks to everybody. But any extra thoughts just on week 1 strategy going in, mostly tournament perspective? I know you're playing the cash games, but just maybe applying between both.
Yeah, it's one takeaway that really Hoop got me on last year doing these shows and just seeing projected ownership and mainly at quarterbacks. Hoop says it a lot. He said it last year. Like, it doesn't come in as high owned as you think. Like the Dak. Sometimes Dak was like the second highest projected quarterback, whatever. And he comes in like 14% owned or something like that. And that's one takeaway because we look at ownership a lot. Ownership is a big part of the game we play. But you can get different in once. Like there's chalk running backs today. There's Tyreek Hill's the spend up. Yoshi Voss down below is the cheap wide receiver. Pitts, Gesicki, the tight ends. Like you can eat chalk. A-Rich is going to be one of the chalk quarterbacks. You can eat plenty of chalk. You get different in a couple spots. I'm not worried this year as much. I'm trying to take a step back. Quarterbacks, if I like them, like I like Anthony Richardson today, probably will be the highest owned. I'm still going to play him because I do like him, and there's plenty of other ways to get different. So Hoop absolutely was on a roll last year with the Dak. Again, sometimes ownership kept rising, projected ownership. It never came in where I thought it was over-owned or too much. Again, I mean, we play a lot of sports. We see 50% players in a lot of sports, 15% chalk quarterback. That's something that I've kind of changed my approach of this offseason, really dug into more thanks to Hoop last year.
Yeah, man, just a great crew. We got the best community. Even just coming in on the free show on Sunday. I know there's a lot of members in the mix there too, but we appreciate everybody watching. I said it today on X. We want to make this free show as good as any premium show out there, meaning we bring the edutainment, and that's education and entertainment, not just talking about game theory, correlation, leverage, the things that we do and building your own process, not just telling you, trust the process. Which one we show you that. We try and break it down for you there. And that's the whole point of what we're trying to do and keep it fun and exciting. So shout out to everybody out there. Tried to bring up as many as possible as I could, but just too many. There's too many. We really do love you all. Appreciate you all. It's an amazing thing to see that we can do this. So blessed that we get to come on here every Sunday and break it all down. Shout out there's the LSU jersey. He got the Jetta. We're going to talk about that. That's exciting stuff today too. So Hoop, go ahead, add on. I know you got a couple things there, and then we're going to get into the games.
Yeah, just to hit on a couple of the comments, because, man, we do appreciate this community more than you guys even imagine. Even if you're not a member over at SHIPITNation.com, which, obviously we think you should be. But, again, we love the YouTube community as well. Just a couple comments. There's a comment in there. I can't find it, though, about mowing the lawn on an NFL Sunday before the slate locks. That would be like a heaven spot for me. I mean, that would be like amazing if I could get out there, cut the grass, come on here, do the shows, and then build my lineups. But, man, Sunday morning, it's very busy for myself. So I don't think I'll be able to get out there and cut the grass before. Obviously, rocking the Lions gear. There's a couple comments about that. Like, the first time in my entire life I can start a week 1 of an NFL season and feel good rocking Lions gear. So, I mean, let's keep that going and not going to the game. A lot of people are not going to the game. First week of the NFL season, too much work to do. Unfortunately, I'd love to be there tonight, but I'll be watching at home with the family.
Yeah, we're not going to do this today because it's Sunday. Everybody wants to get right to it, but just a quick note, because Good Vibes said it. That is there is no code needed. The early bird pricing is built in. So if you want to get in, you like what you see today, just get over there. If you want to join all these great people in the Discord, in the community, hop on over. That's it. That's all you got to do. Shout out Junior as well. Best 3-man booth you can find. We appreciate you. Parabay is out there. Just lots of good people. Real quick, this is where you go, though, on the site. If you are a member, we're going right to the stone. And if you guys haven't seen this, the best tool in DFS, we're going to use it to break it all down. We're going to share it today. That's fine. It's week 1. Don't mind spreading the love. If you're a member, you can open up the PDF on your mobile phone. You can get to it easier that way. If you want to mess with it and delete games, change stuff, color code it your own way, whatever it might be, you can get in on here. So shout out to Degenerate75, the editor, the rest of our team that puts in the work behind the scenes. We appreciate you getting this ready for us today. The latest update is as of this morning, and then we'll make more updates as the day goes along. And everybody wanted the timestamp on there. We got that added overnight. Shout out to the editor putting in the work early. So Hoop, let's get right to this, man. Before we get to the first game, which is Steelers and Falcons on our stone here, just any grand scheme overview stuff for the slate. I know when we get to the Cincy game later, that's going to come up with the injury situation there, and obviously the 3K wide receiver. We'll talk about it. But any other stuff you wanted to talk about just before we get into game by game?
Yeah, real quick, just to clarify, asking for the codes to get on the site in the chat. We have our bottom barrel price as cheap as it's going to be. There's no code needed, and we've made it very clear leading up to NFL season what you get, and it is the most affordable content in the industry, and that was a goal of ours coming into starting this business and something we stand by. So you don't need a code. This week we extended all our preseason pricing, our pre-package. We released it early. We extended that all the way through. So you have nothing to worry about. If you go to the site, you're getting the best price possible. And again, it is the most affordable price in the industry. Don't pay those big boy price tags. If you do play college football, it's included in our football packages. So if you're someone that's looking for college football content as well, it's included in our NFL packages. We're not going to charge you an extra $300-$400 for college football like these other sites. It's very simple. Just get on over there if you're looking to join. So just wanted to point that out. And then in regards to the overview of the slate, title's point at the beginning remains true because there's just a lot of quarterbacks that are going to look appealing today. And when that happens, I just know for a fact it's going to get spread out. So whatever ownership projections are telling you think you got to fade a quarterback for this reason or that reason, if you think he's going to get too high owned, I can tell you right now, it is not going to happen, especially this week. There's just so many viable guys, so many cheap guys that people want to go to. We'll talk about it as we go through game by game, but fading a quarterback for a potential high ownership majority of weeks is a huge mistake. And this week, even more so, there's just a lot of guys that are viable. So everything's going to get spread out. It makes it very easy to get overweight on the spots that you want to get overweight on. I mean, yeah, Anthony Richardson's probably the highest owned quarterback, but it's not, first off, if you like him, it's not a number you need to avoid. And then that means everything else below him is going to be very easy to get overweight on. If you're going to, outside of Richardson, if you play someone at 20% clip, you're probably going to be double the field on that guy just right out of the gate. I mean, no one's coming in super high. So that's one thing to definitely point out. We have one standout value play, the wide receiver for the Bengals, which we'll talk about when we get there. He's going to be probably the highest owned guy in the slate, 3K. And the reason is there's just not a ton of super cheap options, which is kind of weird for week one. We see there's a lot of 5K guys at every position that look good. Like there's 5K running backs on DraftKings. There's 5K wide receivers on DraftKings that look good. There's 5K tight ends, but there's nothing super cheap. And for a week one, again, we tend to see some super high owned spots, and I'm really not seeing it this week. There's, Alvin Kamara probably gets a good chunk of ownership, and especially on FanDuel where he's really cheap. But I don't know. I think things get pretty spread out. Tyreek Hill's obviously going to get some ownership, but man, there's ways to get different without doing anything all that crazy today.
Yeah, breaking it down off the top, I think that's a good thing to point out. Obviously, quarterback's going to get spread no matter how much you like, or even if you say, but this guy's going to be a little more than expected, or he gets a bunch. It's still being kept in check by how many people want to play all these other dudes. Like they're just making the case for situational stuff. And we'll give you ideas throughout it when we go game by game. Title, I'll get your quick thoughts. I think running back is clear cut that we're going to see some of those 6K guys get boosted up. If people are going up, Bijan's going to get some love probably. Go down the board from there. Tight end, Pitts, Ingram, maybe one of the cheap guys. Wide receiver, Tyreek, 3K for Cincinnati there, and then going from there. But just little situational stuff like that. Any quick overview for you there that you wanted to add before we hop into the first game?
2 games that really stand out on a total perspective. 3 if you're talking FanDuel, Sunday Night Football. Again, do not forget about that. Lions, Rams, 52 total, which is the biggest on the slate. But it's the Dolphins, Jags game in Houston and the Colts. I think that game gets a decent amount of ownership. But again, I do think people are going to try and take a shot on a multiple of these quarterbacks because a lot of them do have fine stacking pieces, some of them coming in low owned. Again, I think it's pretty concentrated. Like you said, tight end, Pitts, Gesicki, there's plenty of pivots there. The mid-tier wide receivers on DraftKings really stands out to me. Like you got 5Ks, 6K, you got London, Godwin, Kirk, Neighbors, Pittman, Waddle, so many good ones. And on a slate where salary is loose, like Tyreek's minus 125 to score, great matchup, only 8,700. Yeah, like there's just some of these, where ownership's going to go today. I think it's pretty clear to find really solid pivots. And I think the Stone, we see game one and we'll go down it right away. Steelers, everything is GPP. It's very easy. And it's really the color coordination, the ownership, everything on there. Really excited for this new tool. And we go down. I think it will really help you build teams. You don't want all cash guys in your team. You want to mix in some high upside GPP to build it out. So yeah, I think clear chalk some spots, plenty pivots. Good week one.
Yeah, almost 300 likes in there already. So we're really getting off, dude. I think we're going to be giving it away. It's going to be, if we get 500 likes, we're giving away a football annual pass that's going to come with Shiptimizer, which we'll show that off as well when we get into it. But Hoop, I'm going to start with you here, man. Steelers, Falcons, talked about it. I think this is a little bit interesting to me because I was saying to you guys pre-show, it does remind me at least a little bit of a couple years ago, the first game of the season, all the Washington guys were chalk. I remember this perfectly at the time. All the Washington guys were chalk. Nobody played Carson Wentz, who was their then quarterback, and that ended up being the Millie Maker winner. It was like, if all those guys are going to be played a bunch, why am I not just playing the quarterback? We have a bit of that situation here, and I'll talk about it more after you and Title go, but Bijan definitely getting some love, can even play him in cash if you want to go certain routes today. Drake London, 6K, definitely getting some love. Pitts, 4,600, definitely getting some love. So the Atlanta side is certainly getting ownership, and they have a 23 implied team total. So give me your thoughts on this first game, Steelers, Falcons, other ways we can attack it.
Yeah, so the big news, I guess, in this game is it sounds like it's going to be Justin Fields, although there are some weird reports that they haven't fully ruled out Russell Wilson, but it does sound like it's going to be Justin Fields, and he's only 5K on DraftKings, and it stands out as a solid value in terms of just his price tag. He can get there on the ground at 5K, and he doesn't need to really have anyone along with him. Now, if you are looking to play him and pair him with anyone, it's probably George Pickens. You look at the rest of these wide receivers, Van Jefferson, Kelvin Austin III. Like if you are pairing Field, it is very difficult to pair him with anyone outside of Pickens or Freiermuth. I think Freiermuth is fine and should come in at very low ownership. We're showing him at like 2%. But again, this isn't a great spot on the Steelers side. Obviously, on the road in Atlanta, not like Atlanta's a great team or anything, but starting out on the road, uncertainty with quarterback all week, not the greatest spot, but Fields at 5K can just clearly get it done like on his own at that price. So he finds, I say it all the time, and I hate to be very redundant and beat the same drum, but man, like these 5K running quarterbacks, if they find the end zone on the ground, you're free rolling the rest of the way with them. And if they throw a couple more touchdowns, and boom, they're there. So not a spot I'm super excited about, but I will get some Fields to Pickens, Fields to Freiermuth in my 150 today. On the Atlanta side, obviously an upgrade at quarterback for pass catchers with Kirk Cousins there. Drake London, I think, stands out as a phenomenal play. I mean, he's dealt with shitty quarterback play, especially all last season. Now he gets Kirk Cousins. I think he's a guy that can just really take off this season. Only $6K on DraftKings. I think it's probably the cheapest we see for Drake London this season. I think he's going to have a big year. And then Kyle Pitts as well. Same thing. He's dealt with these crappy quarterbacks. Now he gets Kirk Cousins, a solid passing quarterback. This game is in a dome as well, which is a little bit of a boost. I mean, this time of year, it's not a huge difference because the outdoor games typically have pretty solid weather, but still, I mean, I'd much rather play in a dome than outside, regardless of the circumstances. So London to Pitts, and it is interesting. No one's really going to play Kirk Cousins looking like 1% ownership. And I think the reason no one's going to play him is because he has so many running quarterbacks priced right around him, and everyone wants to just go with those high upside running quarterbacks. So a guy like Cousins, that's just a passer, is going to go overlooked today. And I'll be honest, it is going to be tough for him to compete with those guys in terms of fantasy points. Like, how can he compete with these guys that can get 80 on the ground and score a rushing touchdown? Like, he'd have to beat all those guys in the range. So that's the reason why the field doesn't like him, and the real reason why I don't necessarily like him, because all the guys priced right around him that you would have to beat fantasy point wise. So not a ton of interest in Cousins, but love London, and I like Pitts. And then not a ton of spends on the slate. We talked about on the cash show, a lot of the expensive guys, McCaffrey's and all the Eagles and Packers and Chiefs and Ravens guys are not on the slate. So there's not many spends. Bijan Robinson is one of those spends on the slate, 7,700 and then 8,800 on FanDuel. The coaching change is going to be huge for him. I mean, the bullshit last season was ridiculous with like certain games where he got like 11 touches. And I mean, you can just watch him. The dude's absolutely explosive. So he should really benefit from this new system, and a guy that I definitely want to be overweight on. So despite the lowish total here, I mean, these Falcons guys, I think, are in really good spots. I mean, Bijan, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts, I mean, they're coming with ownership, as you can see. Kyle Pitts will be the highest owned tight end. He's only 4,600. Drake London's getting a decent chunk at 12, and then Robinson's getting around 20 because there's no one else there at the position. But individually, all three of those guys are elite options, I'd say, on the slate.
We found what gets Hoop to talk. You got to get a Falcons-Steelers game in the first game of the season. I think the full breakdown is almost done. But before we go here to title, and then I've got a couple thoughts on it, I'll just chime in. But 350 likes. We might get to 1,000 today. If we got to 1,000, I'll give away two the same, but I know we're going to hit 500, so we're going to be giving that away. A quick strategy question. This is really what we're all about. Anybody that knows us, my saying on this is if you play lighter, you play tighter. So if you're dropping down from 150 lineups to 20, I don't want to keep the same. If you were playing 6 or 7 quarterbacks on 150, I definitely don't want to be doing that, because now you're spreading yourself too thin on 20 lineups. I want to get it down to who are my 3 favorites or something, and then build it in around there. Maybe you do a one-off of a quarterback you just like that stack or something, you want to give something a try. Also, any wrestling fans remember Jake the Snake? We got Jake Swales. I'm going to call him Jake the Take. This guy always has good takes, man. And even if they aren't good takes, he's in here for them. I remember from last year, a really good dude, always in here saying, I don't want anything from Atlanta today. He thinks the Seals, and he said shitty game. Just a note, we do denote on it that this is a no designation game. You'll see the sneaky games, which I saw you mentioned somewhere else, Jake, about Josh Allen. Yeah, we'll get to that in the next game, my friend, and I don't disagree with you. So appreciate the takes. We love when people are throwing their own stuff out there. Maybe it gives us some ideas. Title, I'll let you go first, and I'll save my ideas. I got 2 for this game that I want to use, but anything you want to add on to what Hoop said?
I'm kind of on Jake's side. I don't like this game much for DFS. Steelers side is like, it really is just Fields for me. Pickens I don't look at too much into individual matchups, but AJ Terrell, one of the better cornerbacks out there. And there's just not like, look at these other receivers, Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin. The defense will be focused on George Pickens. They're going to stack the box. Steelers are going to want to run a lot this year. Fields touchdown prop plus 255. Like, you need him to at least get one on the ground to get there, I think. And again, 5K on some slates if Tyreek was 9,600 or some of the running backs are higher priced. I think it's more in play, and he's definitely in play. But I have a couple Fields teams, not many, and I am good running him naked. And if I do play Fields, though, I like going probably 2 of Drake London, Pitts, or Bijan, because you just hope like they put up points early. Fields gets it done with his legs, and then they have to drop back more. But I don't like the Steelers side much. And Falcon side, Drake London's by far my favorite Falcon. I think one of the better plays on the slate. It's going to come with ownership, so it's not a hot take. Chalk I'm eating. The Pitts chalk, though, I'm going to be underweight in tournaments, like cash games for sure. But, I mean, man, the dude just never has got it done. No Arthur Smith there, so it's definitely a big boost. But if they get up 2 touchdowns, they're going to try and pound Bijan. I like London to get more of the targets than Pitts. And there's so many tight end pivots today. You only really play one on most teams. That's a spot I'm going to be looking to get different than most of my teams as tight ends. So on the London train, don't love Pitts as much. Bijan's going to get some ownership, but I think a lot of people are going to try and live in that 6K range for running back as well. So if you play Bijan and no London and Pitts, you do get leverage off of both of them. Bijan falls in the box twice. I mean, he has one of the better touchdown props on the slate, minus 115. I think that's a good way you can leverage the passing game on the Falcons. That's the only piece of this game. A home favorite, good running back, no Arthur Smith. So, yeah, don't like quarterbacks much. I like London, like some Bijan as the only piece in this game, but not my favorite either.
Yeah, we'll move on quickly. I'm going to give my quick takes on it because it's a lot of time for one game, but I'll say this. Justin Fields, if you're playing him, if you don't want to go the Kirk Cousins route, you hit on it quickly, title. I don't mind like a London Pitts or a Bijan Pitts, and then you're using Fields to be your Kirk Cousins. Because if he beats Kirk Cousins, which he easily can, then that's the setup. If he can get you 15, 20 points, those guys the other way, you see stuff like this all the time. But the bigger one for me would be the guy that just got paid, Pat Freiermuth, opposite side of Kyle Pitts at chalk at like 1/10 of the ownership. That's how you do it. Or you go Fields, Freiermuth with Drake London. That's how you play a chalky Drake London or something like that in a setup differently. I don't like 2 tight end lineups today. I don't see a full need for them, and they're usually not what hits anyway. But if you want to play opposite side, could definitely do that. And then my last point would just be, the total's 42. What are you looking at there? There's no 55 totals. There is no 50-plus totals. It's in a dome with 2 shitty teams. If you're calling it like it is, it's 2 shitty teams. You at least want them to be in a dome and then just hope some shit goes your way. It's a touchdown away from being in the same total perspective as those other games. So I'm not saying to target it. That's why we don't have it that way. But I'm just saying if you're thinking of it from that perspective, there is an opportunity. Let's move on. Let's go to Bills Cardinals as we get close to crossing 400 likes already. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel too, right? We talk about this all the time, but the free shows just keep flowing the more we keep growing. So Hoop, I'm going to go to you. Bills, Cardinals, and I'll kick it off early. Some of this value that opened up kept being, oh, but now we got to do this with the value, or now we can go to the stack that we already liked and add more chalk in. I just didn't see enough of it move to one of the best spots on the slate. In my opinion, we have it as sneaky, and it's because as much as this is a good spot, I think people are still scared of what will Marv Harrison actually do? Is Trey McBride and Kincaid too expensive? Do I really need to go up to 8K Josh Allen? Will it be Shakir, Samuel, Coleman? Like, that's where people get a little bit nervous, so it should at least keep it in check. But with the value we have, I got no problem going to this game. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I am interested in one side of this game and not much in the other. The Cardinals, I don't have a ton of interest in. It's a tough spot to open up on the road in Buffalo, and I get they got the sexy pieces, Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm still going to go back to the same point. Kyler Murray is just such a shitty quarterback. I mean, he's so bad, and I think they just get their ass kicked here, to be honest with you. But that doesn't mean I don't have interest in the Bills, because I think the Bills will want to prove something. Josh Allen's going to want to prove something today without Stephon Diggs, and it is a very interesting spot because we have 2 games coming up that if you're spending this sort of money, you're going to go to instead. We got the Jaguars and Dolphins, a lot of ownership. People are going to love that one. Got the Texans and Colts. People are going to love that one. And what we're seeing here is this Bills situation going a little overlooked. And I think it's because of the uncertainty in this offense without Stephon Diggs. Josh Allen could absolutely nuke this slate. We've seen it many times. He's the most expensive quarterback. We have so many mid-tier quarterbacks that people are going to want to play and they're going to feel good with. Josh Allen, I mean, coming in. If this ownership is right, we're showing 6.5%. Like, sign me the F up. Like, I'm going to try not to swear, but man, that was a close one. Like, sign me up for Josh Allen 6%. Without Stephon Diggs. To me, that's like probably even better for Josh Allen because he can just do it in so many different ways. So I'm in on the Josh Allen stuff. I love that it's low owned. Dalton Kincaid, I think probably has the potential to be like the number one there. I mean, I don't want to compare him to like the Isaiah Likely situation, but he's more than just a tight end. Like we saw it with Likely on Thursday night. These guys, these tight ends are so athletic nowadays. They're like pseudo wide receivers as well. So give me Dalton Kincaid. Title talked about the pivots off of Kyle Pitts. We know Kyle Pitts is going to be very popular on DraftKings because of the price tag. Kincaid's $1,200 more. Like, man, give me a lot of Kincaid today. Give me a lot of James Cook. Like, if they do get that big lead, James Cook could definitely make it happen under 10% owned. And then a lot of question marks with these wide receivers. And honestly, I'll be honest, I don't have the answers. I mean, who the hell is going to be the main dude for Josh Allen? Is it Shakir? Is it Curtis Samuel? Is it Coleman? I don't know. So in my 150, I'm just going to play a little bit of all of them. And it's easy to get way overweight on them. I mean, you look at it, 5% for Shakir, 2 for Samuel, 1 for Keon Coleman. So give me a little bit of all those guys. Easy game to get way overweight on. Team total sitting basically the highest on the slate. And sign me up for some Bills today.
How about that 2v2 here, Title? I know you're in the cash games. You know exactly what it's going to be, but $100 left on the table, too, if you swap it over to Fields Kincaid and get off the Kyle Pitts chalk. And, A-Rich is obviously a good play for a reason, but just to note it, I mean, that is sort of what it is on paper. You have any quick thoughts on that? I'll get the chat's thoughts, too. Throw in your chat if you like one or two, A or B, whatever you want to call it, get your takes. But, Title, your thoughts, and then take us into this game as well.
A-Rich is nuking today, so I'm on the A-Rich side. I do need we're going to need your Noah Brown, Tambo. Every week now we're going to need that 2v2 Noah Brown legendary pivot from last year. So
we look for him. That's what I do. I'm trying to find these things all day, all night, up late, typing these things through. But that was one that just popped in my mind right now, just taking it back to the first game and just knowing what the chalk's going to be, the cash quarterback, A-Rich sort of. So go ahead, Title. Take us into Cardinals Bills here.
Yeah, I reflect the same thoughts as Hoop. I mean, this ownership's just not really showing in this game. A lot of it is kind of like prices. Like if you play Kyler, that means most people will go McBride, which is a spend, Marvin Harrison, which is a spend. I'm good playing both. I talked about pivoting off a tight end. You have two of the best tight ends right here in McBride and Kincaid. So I like both sides. Kyler has the rushing upside. Bills lost Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer in the offseason, so their secondary definitely looks a lot different. Kyler can get there in so many ways. They're down 21-0. What Hoop says can be right. Kyler is so bad. Well, the second half, he's going to drop back every play, and he can get there with his legs, garbage time, stuff like that. So both these quarterbacks look way too low owned for their upside for me. It's not as like we have Yoshi Voss at 3K. We have so many cheap plays. It's not like salary is a concern. I'm going to be playing some Marvin Harrison, high upside right there. Highly touted rookie, plenty of 100-yard upside right there. I don't like James Conner. I don't like the running game on either side as much as the passing game. We'll play some James Cook because there's Rachaad White, there's Kenneth Walker. Then you pay even more for James Cook. I'm probably more likely to play James Cook when I'm not playing a Josh Allen or a Kincaid.
Just a note. So
yeah, and again, it's more so to do with the salary. Like you're spending a lot between Allen and James Cook to get there. Cook can still catch passes out of the backfield, but when Cook is on the winner, I'm thinking it's more so he rushes to win, which that means Allen's not. So I don't love the pairing. I would do a negative boost there. I like Kincaid, Josh Allen pairing a lot. I wouldn't. Someone asked about Allen naked too. I don't love Allen naked as much just because Shakir's cheap. Kincaid's a pivot at tight end. If Allen does get there, I think one of his pass catchers will. Shakir's definitely the receiver if I'm playing on Buffalo that I would go to. The props have him most likely to score, have him with the highest receiving yard prop. He's had rapport with Josh Allen in the past, whereas Keon Coleman rookie, Curtis Samuel new. Shakir at 5'1", going to be low owned. I don't like him as a one-off really because when you compare him to the Christian Kirks of the range, couple of those other guys, Joshua Palmer, Neighbors, projects less. But with Josh Allen, yeah, Shakir can definitely catch some. So I like both sides, Kyler, Harrison, McBride, Josh Allen, Shakir, Kincaid, then James Cook and non-Allen lineups. But this game looks too low owned.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm in on both sides. Also, Kyler Murray, $100 more than A-Rich. Again, what Hoop said can definitely be true. It can be bad, but we've seen it with other quarterbacks in the past. Deshaun Watson used to do horrible in the first half and then come back and pick up 25 points overall. Like that'll play. And there's lots of guys. They talk about Big Marv. I know our guy Newens was just in here chatting it up. Like Marv, 7,200 to kick the season off. Like they already know this guy's already the guy. So, I mean, this is interesting.
He was end of the first round pick, early second. I mean, the steam's there.
He's a real deal. So it's like you can set it up this way. I think Connor is a good tournament play. That's why we've got these things marked. These are high upside plays. There's obviously risk reward involved. Next week, we're not going to put this up fully on the screen. This is just part of week one, giving it away, showing it all off. You get all the details. We'll just have this on our screen and talk through it and use Shiptimizer and go through the projections and stuff. But this is what really breaks it all down for you to be able to see. And this sneaky game stuff, it's mainly based on just how look at all these good high upside plays, yet there's not really any ownership that can go there because we already know where the ownership is going. Or even if someone says, well, I don't believe your Josh Allen projection, he's going to get steamed up to what? 8, 9, 10? Like he's in check. You're not getting him at 20% or 15% or 12. You just don't get quarterbacks at that anyway. Yet we have all the value in the world on this slate to make these things work. So Allen, Shakir, Kincaid, run it back. You don't even need to run it back in this game either. If you don't want to take that risk on, or you think it could just get spread out amongst these guys, or they're a bit more expensive, you want Kincaid over McBride, whatever it might be, you don't have to do that. But just noting some of the points there, the biggest ones for me are Kyler Murray and James Conner is another 2v2, I think, off the top of my head. I think that's Rashad White at 6,300 and A-Rich at 6,300. Another cash game 2v2. You got A-Rich, Rashad White, or Kyler Murray, James Conner. And I know that they're together. People might say this. I know it's going to come up later with A-Rich and Jonathan Taylor. We almost saw Hurts and Barkley get there together the other. I know Hurts got kept in check a little bit, but you give over one of those TDs from Barkley. You get that tush push at the end instead. I mean, these guys can hit value at even higher price tags. You can call this a little combo pack and get Murray and Connor together if you wanted, and then just put Shakir or Kincaid in there and build your lineups out that way. So I do got interest in this game. Big total, nice stack ranking. We do have our stack rankings up on the site as well. Those things absolutely crushed last year. You get those. We just put it on here. The higher the number, the better. So the closer to 10 you can get, the better. Keep that in mind as we go down. Hoop, I'm going to go back to you on this one. Titans, Bears, and just a quick like check. I think like check. We got 440 likes right now. So we're about to hit that 500. We're not even halfway. It's going to be a big season at SHIPIT Nation, and no better month to kick it off than September. A September to remember. We got the big one coming up, and we already started this thing hot on Thursday and then on Friday. So let's keep it rolling on Sunday. Hoop, Titans, Bears. What have we got with this one? You got a mute button, so you know Millie's on tap today for Hoopster.
Got to do it once. That's the only chance of shipping to speak with the mute. I mean, you guys had me in timeout for so long. I forgot that I had muted myself. I got put in my place. I got put in my place for talking too long on the first game. I realized.
You got put in the corner.
That was my punishment. But we're gonna speed things up a little bit here because I have very limited interest in this game, Titans Bears, especially on the Titans side. There's just nothing I see that I want to play. I mean, you got two running backs. Who the hell knows what's going to happen there? You got banged up wide receivers. Hopkins is a little banged up. It's a tough spot in Chicago. Titans will be a full fade for me on the slate. Feel good about that. And then on the Bears side, I'll have a little Caleb Williams. I think this guy's going to be good, and he's going to kind of want to show off here a little bit. And the nice thing is all his pass catchers are coming in at low ownership. So if you do want to pair them, Keenan Allen is going to play. He's going to be like unowned on this slate. If you're playing 150, you play 5%, you're double the field. DJ Moore has big time upside, low owned, and then this Odunze guy at 4K I think is a fine value. Bears D I think is in a really good spot. I think they're a good play on the slate. So I'll keep it quick on this one. No Titans for me. Bears defense, some Caleb Williams with the pass catchers at low ownership, and that's about it for me.
Yeah, Tyler, you got any different thoughts here? I mean, it's really tough to get. You see the other side. Spears is getting a little love for potential. Obviously, price tag's low, but some of the Bears are popping. And one interesting one is at 4K here because everyone's playing the 3K guy. I don't think many are playing those two together, and that's fine. But just to note it, like that's a setup where, if he's popping, but then everyone's mentioning it, but they're not actually clicking the button. I've had this conversation in the past. Everyone talks about it, but do they actually click the button? I just don't think they are. And it even feels that way with Caleb Williams. It's almost like people know him and DJ Moore and everybody here could be a good stack, but because they don't like the Tennessee side and because they don't really love that, they're not really fully invested on it. And also Swift could be sneaky under the radar today. He's right at that same price tag all the chalk is at. If you wanted to play the Bears D with Swift, I wouldn't hate that either.
Yeah, I think you made good points for a reason why to play it. I'm more so on the hoop side. Like, it's so hard to click any of these Titans names. I think Bears get after them. Titans are going to drop back a lot this year. I think Bears at home have a field day, so I'm not going to be touching any of them. And at the end of the day, like, A-Rich is just right in that range. There's multiple quarterbacks. I want to take a wait-and-see approach on this Bears offense right now. I know a lot of hype, but not only do you have to get Caleb Williams right, I mean, who's he throwing it to? Is it DJ? Is it Keenan? Is it Adunze? Adunze is the one where his price stands out, but I don't think he plays in 2 wide receiver sets. I think it'll be DJ Moore, Keenan Allen. They're going to run the football too, especially if the defense is hounding Tennessee. I see this as just a lower scoring game. The Bears probably win by a touchdown and nothing really gets there in DFS. So, yeah, I don't like this one.
You said a field day. That used to work. Now, there wasn't many Fields days that went well, and that's why he's no longer there and things didn't quite work out, but it was a good close call on the pun there. Let's move on, though, because we talked about that one enough. I think it's just important to stay on. We have no designation for it. You can see what it is. If you want to go the Bears side, I talked a couple ways you could get there, but, Hopkins, if you want to take a shot, maybe Ridley on the other side. I get it, but it's not really something we're high on. We do got to wait on this Jamar Chase news. Title, I'm going to stay with you. Keep Hoop over there in punishment. Talk a little bit about this because I think you'll have the best side of the Andre. How do you say his name exactly? Everyone says Yoshi, but it makes it easier.
Yoshi Voss, Yoshi Vis. I say Yoshi Voss. That's what Yoshi I think
Voss,
it is.
I like that one. But at 3K in cash games, whatever. But I think we're going to talk more about him too as we get through this of how you're using them overall. But I'll let you start with this one title. Bengals, Patriots. What do you got?
Yeah, so Yoshi Voss is by far the biggest question. Min price 3K, and he was getting a lot of hype in the preseason. So they drafted Burton, who was supposed to be their wide receiver 3. At least that was their plan. And Yoshi Voss just took over camp and pretty much left the dude in the dust. Then you get the T. Higgins being rolled out, so he goes to wide receiver 2. And with Jamar Chase, it sounds like he's going to play. They said some sort of – I want more like coach speak kind of like limited in some sort, but it's not like he's hurt. Like he wants his contract. He did practice way later in the season, like a couple days ago he started. But you're telling me this dude wasn't out grinding by himself, getting ready, trying to get that big payday, expecting to play week 1. I'm going to play Jamar Chase. I'm going to embrace that variance as long as we don't have any negative news. 7,800, a clear pivot in the top tier. Everyone's going to be going Tyreek. There's a good Jefferson pivot there. Salary doesn't mean too much. I'm good. I like Yoshi Voss. I'm going to play plenty of them. A cash lock makes a lot work in tournaments. It's a good matchup too. The Bengals at home. But Jamar Chase is definitely someone that I'm going to be playing because I wouldn't be surprised to see a 100-yard, 2-touchdown game limited. He's going to be out there on the big plays. Yoshi Voss, Jamar Chase, Gesicki. I'm going to let you guys mainly talk about him. Like he's going to get ownership just because he needs to be on the field. Like he's very cheap at tight end. He makes a lot work, but salary is not very tight on this slate. McBride, Kincaid's, Pitts, Ingram. There's so many guys that can put up a 20 spot. I don't know how much I really like Gesicki down there. I don't like the running game. Zach Moss and Chase Brown, I think, will be pretty much a split. Joe Burrow. I'm in on some Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, Chase, Yoshi Voss. That's when I would probably play Gesicki is when I play Burrow, but nothing on the Patriots side. They are garbage. Chase, Yoshi Voss, some Gesicki and Burrow stuff, and I think Burrow's a little interesting.
Yeah, I'll show it off quick just because, again, this week we're bringing everything to the table, but to break it down, our stack ranking through the roof on this for obvious reasons, right? Once you add Yoshi in there like you talked about, but just to go over to the stack rankings, that is your boy, Jamar Chase. I know you're a Jefferson guy, but what you were just talking about with Chase.
Toys guy. Andy Hoyman. Shout out Hoyman. Jamar Chase.
And we know the ownership is going to be high, but I think that's where people also have to understand, just going back to this and give them another quick preview, is like we talk about with what the simulation brings out, sort of how they become optimal using our projections and their salary on DraftKings. What it's saying is obviously he's a really good play. The leverage looks bad, but there's not many guys you're going to find on this slate that are showing up optimal that amount of time. So you still have to factor that in. It's like when Scotty Scheffler in golf is going to be 35% owned. And, he's not going to be that optimal to be on the main lineup, but he's still way up there. You still have to consider that when you're looking at it and go through it. So Hoop, maybe give the tournament side of things on this, and then I'll add some more in as well. But I think I've already seen people, you just got to go to Trenton Irwin. You just got to, pivot and play the running backs or do different stuff. You don't have to do anything. You can just play this guy too. You can play him to the field. You can go underweight. You can go overweight, but obviously he makes a lot of things work. And if you go back to my original quote at the top of the show, my notes from every year, there's values like this that you just take and move on, especially in some of the higher dollar, smaller field stuff, because it just gets you everything else. And your pivot that you made doesn't guarantee you get Irwin right instead of him. The rest of your lineup probably has mistakes in it. So you better get a lot of Irwin today if that's the stand you're taking or whatever it might be. So I'll get your thoughts on the same thing, Hoop, and then we'll keep it rolling with this game.
I mean, definitely some favoritism going on here. I mean, I get put in timeout for talking too long about the Steelers and Falcons, and you just use a Scotty Scheffler analogy for this Yoshi dude. That's criminal.
Hoop doesn't know the rules, though. That's why. Hoop doesn't know how.
I do. I totally do, and I know what you're getting at. But man, you still can't use Scotty Scheffler analogy talking about Yoshi or however you pronounce it.
Optimal plays. How optimal is somebody likely to be on a slate? And then people just simply saying, I'm not going to do it because I don't believe that they can actually be that good. And they're
I fully understand the point you're trying to make, but man,
Hoop's trying to put the host in timeout.
Yeah, you gotta understand. It's a two-way street. You got to understand my point as well, which is very clear. Anyhow, in regards to this game, man, it's a tough one. The news around Jamar Chase is just kind of weird. The talking point, free him, man, let him out. I'm back, baby. I'm going to talk about the Bengals for 20 minutes now just to get some payback. It's a tough one. Yeah, the talking points around Jamar Chase have been weird this week. He's going to be limited, used in certain situations. You can definitely use that to your advantage this week. We're showing 10%. I think it's probably lower than that because of all this negative news coming on around him. I wouldn't be surprised if Jamar Chase on this full slate maybe 6% owned or something along those lines. So if you're into it and you want to embrace the risk, it's going to be easy to get overweight on him. He's one guy on the slate. I have not decided what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. How do you pronounce this guy's name title?
Yoshi Voss.
Yoshi. I'm just calling him Yoshi. It's easy. So yeah, with Yoshi, going to be probably the highest guy on the slate. Like I talked about, there's not a ton of full punts on the slate that are appealing. He makes a lot of work. He's going to be owned. You don't have to avoid it. Like Tambo was saying, I gave him shit for the Scotty Scheffler analogy, but it is the point he was trying to make is true. Man, there's just not much on the slate super cheap. So if you do want to play, Bijan Robinson and Tyreek Hill, you need some cheap options. You have to play some of these cheap guys. So I'm in. I get it if you want to fade it. I mean, a lot of people in chat saying they're fading it. Totally fine. I mean, you can definitely do that. But it just depends what sort of teams you're trying to build today, to be honest with you. I have some interest in the Zach Moss stuff. I could see the Bengals with T. Higgins being out, the Jamar Chase thing kind of up in the air. I could see them just trying to win a nasty, grinded out type game. And, Moss is a new guy there, should get a majority of the work. If they get up a couple touchdowns, they could just grind out the clock with a guy like Moss. So I do have some interest in Moss. He'll be in my player pool. Gesicki, another cheap play at 3K. I just think of Gesicki with the Dolphins, and he just never did shit. Just never did anything. What? Obviously, it's in. Huh?
He had some nice touchdown dances.
Yeah, but it's he'd do that, and then he would disappear for 5 weeks after. It's every 5 weeks he'd do something fantasy wise. I don't know. It's I'll play him. Don't get me wrong. 3K tight end, I'm certainly in. I'm playing him, but man, it's not a comfortable play. But the ownership's not all that high, so I don't know. I could see this being just a grinded out type game for the Bengals. So I'm not going to be on Burrow. Most likely not going to be on Chase. I'll just take the cheap options, the cheap pass catchers, and some Zach Moss here and move on.
Yeah, Yoshi probably still beats him. I love the one that we talked about. Said, Illini fans, we're here for the analogy. We'll just call him, if you're looking for his name, Scheffler Voss. So if you want to play him today, it's Scotty Voss. I think our guy Go Collect said I flipped it. Scheffler Voss is what we'll call him. Somebody else asked if you're playing Chase, do you play Burrow? I think so. Again, if Chase goes off and has a big game today, it's something that matters for DFS on week 1, it's going to be like 2 touchdowns, 100 yards, catches to go with it, everything, where at least you can set that up. And that's where a guy like Yoshi, even if you put him into that stack, as we show with our stack rank, still may not kill you, because if he gets you 6.5, it's not the end of the world if Burrow and Chase are also needed. It was just another piece to make other big scores pop into your lineup, especially in something higher dollar, smaller field. Gesicki thing to me is just, an old school one that I can bring up. I can think about all the love. I'll stay with football for you, Hoop. But going back, Greg Dortch week, there was a 3K or 4K at the minimum, whatever it was at that time. It was Greg Dortch week. And it was when everybody first found out about McBride, because McBride was like 2,500 or 3K. And the answer was, instead of playing Dortch at 30% owned, you just move it over to McBride. In this case, I'm not comparing Gesicki to him, but the price tag is comparable to what it was at. And you're getting the exact same price into your lineup in the same offense, a guy that doesn't really block a lot. I know he may not do everything you're talking about. He's not going to get 2 touchdowns probably, but if he does, that'd be like a Parham call or something right there from our guy Hoopster from last year. But Gesicki fills a onesie position. And those new watching the show, we talk about the strategy stuff a lot. You have to play one tight end. Duh. I know this. You go look at your setup and that's true. But what I'm saying is if we don't think that Kincaid, McBride, maybe they split it up a little bit. We don't think about, Pitts being the guy actually breaking it. You just need to fill it in. What if he gets you 12 points or 11 points? I mean, that could be enough if only one other guy has 18 or something, and he's so cheap, and then he allows you to fill in better wide receivers or better running backs or different stacks. You're thinking,
just let me be clear. Like, I'm playing him. I think he's a fine option at the tight end position. And this was like the only big piece of news that broke, and it was pretty late in the week. Like, I don't think people have enough time to react to it. If we knew T. Higgins was going to be out, early on in the week, the Gesicki ownership would be much higher. He is a guy that I still think could go lower owned than he should be based on the current situation with T. Higgins being out. So a lot of people have already looked at the slate starting weeks ago, and they're not going to react to the news like they would if we had this news a long time ago. So I think Gesicki goes lower owned than he should be in the spot.
Revenge. It's like 2 teams deep that you find it, but he's still technically.
A guy like him probably has revenge almost every week. He's been on a lot of crappy teams throughout his career.
I will say too, Rin, our guy, we're not bringing up. Is this is the question? Is Ramondre Stevenson the EVR of the NFL streets?
More golf title. We're locked in PGA season.
In one ear, out the other. I just listen to the football talk.
More golf.
Is he the Gilbert Burns of the NFL? We'll get MMA. Stevenson, I just will say on a serious note, if you wanted to run an interesting secondary stack in a ground and pound game, you could go Stevenson with Yoshi. And that's a cheap version. I mean, that just buy a little combo pack. Again, if you want to get something out of that game and you think it's kind of ugly, but those are the guys that you want to pick from it, by all means, go ahead. Let's move on.
Hold on. Multiple people have mentioned Trent Irwin, including our man Ham. You playing any Trent?
No, I said that already. If you want to try and do that, here's what happens. People do that. He gets a touchdown. You come to Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. You dunk on me. Oh, I told you he was going to do it. Then we go look at the late lineup and see if he's actually there, because chances are you didn't do enough with your Trent Irwin. You wanted to have a hot take and say that I knew it was going to be him instead of Yoshi, and the rest of your lineup ends up horrible because you sort of sacrificed other things or did different things, and then you end up saying, oh, it didn't actually work out anyway. That's what I was trying to say about Yoshi, where even though his optimal is super high, but his leverage looks poor because you're like, he's going to be over-owned. You can still get away with more, and you're already with a bunch of people. Other people have him too. He's screwing up 33% or more of the field probably if he doesn't work out anyway. So you still have other ways to get there. You want leverage and pivots and things like that, but you don't want to just force it, especially if you're not going to commit. So my final thought is if you play Irwin, commit to him. Play him for 15% or 20 instead of Yoshi and really get leverage and find a leg up if you think he's going to be the real deal. I'm going to try it with Gesicki instead because he solves that problem of being a pivot in the same offense, same price, so I can get to the other guys even at the running back, wide receiver, quarterback, and still move them around. And he fills a onesie position that I have to fill up anyway. So that's my take on that. Go ahead, Title.
Yeah, no, I like it. You want me to move to the next game?
Yeah, we got Texans, Colts here.
So the next 2 games we're going to talk about are the 2 biggest ones. Then we're going to go to the Jags, the 2 biggest totals. So we talked about Richardson a lot. Richardson-Pittman will be a very popular combo. Again, it doesn't mean you have to fade it in tournaments. You have 7 other roster spots to get different. A-Rich is plus 125 to score, and that's on the ground. anytime, obviously, he's a big running quarterback. You guys watch the NFL, it's probably all 1,000 of 1,003 did. Shout out to everyone watching. He's just a fantasy beast. He can get there in so many ways. Another goal line back down there. With all that being said, I actually like the Texans side more in GPPs at ownership because, I mean, man, this team's going to be so dynamic. And when you stack Anthony Richardson, everyone's going to go Michael Pittman, and rightfully so. Adonai Mitchell's the other one I could make a case for. I'm not going Pierce, Granson, Cox. That's huge 150 stuff. But the 15% Richardson might all have Pittman on that team. When you go CJ Stroud on the other side, you have all the options to pick from. Nico, Diggs, Tank Dell, Schultz. I'm definitely all in on Nico this year. He's my favorite. The Tank Dell price tag really stands out. But I do think Diggs, as we see with our ownership, is the one squeeze. So if you're playing Stroud, which I'm going to be playing some, any two of those three, very good plays. I do rank it Nico, Dell, Diggs. But again, Diggs very low owned. All of them will be relatively lowish owned. You also get the tight end position you're talking. No one's playing Dalton Schultz. Evan Ingram's just a little more. Kyle Pitts is a little less. We've seen Schultz games last year. I just think this game is up and down, like the Texans side a lot. Colts side, tournaments, the JT play. If everyone's going Richardson and Pittman, how do they not get there? JT runs two in the goal line, and it's not Richardson. He can catch passes out of the backfield. It just isn't. Pittman gets taken away from the Texans. JT falls in the box. Again, I'll be playing both sides, some Richardson, Pittman. More interesting. I like Texans passing game. JT is a good pivot, a lot of upside. This should be attracting me. This one should be fun.
Yeah, I prefer to pair them up. I love all the takes that you just had on this one. And this is another one that shows off on our stuff. Look at all the high upside, and the ownership's just not that crazy. Overall, there's lots of pieces from this game being played, so it's a bit more chalky game for what people are attacking, but not in the way, like I said, it's not who you play, it's how you play them. When you build this stuff out, you could play Mixon. He's up there just a little bit more and a little bit less than some of the popular running backs. You mentioned the tight ends in this game, a little bit more for Schultz. You pick one of Collins and Dell, put Schultz in there and Stroud, and run it back with a Pittman, a Mitchell, a JT. Maybe JT gets it rolling on the ground early, and then it comes back from there. So lots of different ways you can go in this one. Kylan Granson is right there, through $2,900 if you want to play Pittman, Granson. Again, another way. We know Richardson will be popular, but how do you get different with him? Maybe you flip it. It's Mixon on the other side, gets the ball rolling earlier, and then Richardson to Pittman with a little bit of Granson on the way back. There's just lots of different ways you can play this game. Hoop, I'll kick it to you. Any interest here in this one?
Yeah, I'm same page as you guys. I mean, obviously, very appealing fantasy game. People are going to love it. But the one thing that definitely stands out to me, I'll talk on one side a little more than the other, and that's the Texans side. Because I mean, CJ Stroud's phenomenal. I think he has, an MVP-like season this year. I think he is the absolute real deal. He has all the weapons he needs to be successful. And then you come and look at this little number under DK ownership, and it's showing 5%. Like, sign me up for sure, CJ Stroud. And then you come down and look at his wide receivers, all relatively lowish owned. I just have a feeling that it might be Stephon Diggs today. Like, there's something about it, new to the team. He is a stud. Do they try to show him off here right out of the gate? Like, man, I think it just might be Diggs. I like Collins. I like Dell as well. I'll have exposure to all of them, but I just think it's a Diggs game. So sign me up for Stephon Diggs. The one thing, when I started building teams, I realized I wasn't getting a lot of these running backs like Joe Mixon and Jonathan Taylor. And, I made the decision to kind of force them in a little bit just because they both can catch passes. They're dynamic players. And I just want all of this game. Like, I think it's a fast-paced game, and I just want all the pieces. So I do have some Mixon, Taylor as well. Anthony Richardson is the one quarterback that's getting decent ownership, I'd say, probably 15 to 20% range. And I think the main reason he's seeing so much is people are just going to play him in like single entry stuff and then continue to play those teams into the MME stuff as well. You compare him with Pittman, Adonai Mitchell. I don't know, the tight ends. I have no read on who it's going to be. I mean, they have so many dudes they could potentially throw to at the tight end position. But this is a great game overall. But what stands out to me the most for sure is the Texan side and the ownership. Like Stroud, 5%. These pass catchers all, likely 8% and below. And then Schultz too. I love the Schultz call. Like, he has the nuke upside. And because he's priced right around Kyle Pitts, who's going to be very, very popular, You take 6%. If you're playing 150, you take 6% of Dalton Schultz. You double the field on Dalton Schultz. So love this game, but definitely really like the Texans side.
And that's the flip I was talking about earlier, too. Like you said, I definitely love the Texans side more, to your point. But if you are going with Richardson and you just know, like I think Title's words off the top where he's going to nuke today, makes sense. That's why people are playing him in cash and everywhere. But in cash games, most people are just playing Richardson and moving on because you can. That makes sense. That's what you do. They're not really adding Pittman in. He's 6,800. There's much better options for cheaper. Not trusting or needing Mitchell because of Yoshi. All these factors I'm mentioning. If you go Richardson to Pittman, and then run it back with like a Mixon or a Diggs, even if you did go Dell or Collins, you're fine. But I like Schultz more with Stroud. I think if it's like a big game or a touchdown plus game, I want Stroud and then somebody else in there, get a three-man that way. But if you want to just play a mini stack here and you go Richardson, Pittman, pick one of Diggs or Mixon, you're already getting different and you can just fill in the value the rest of the way. You don't have to start going all over the place and way off the board, just lots of different things that you can do. Probably certain plays are too thin in here. I know people are looking for some pivots and some value plays and stuff like that, but this is definitely a game, and you see in our stack rankings, both sides popping up. Good total overall. Like this is definitely a spot you'd want to target. If you're not on this game from a passing perspective, I like Hoop's call of, even though you're not going to get them, just forcing some of these guys in, like Jonathan Taylor instead of a Bijan Robinson, if you don't like that game as much off the top. Joe Mixon instead of the $61, $62, $6,300 running backs, and just say, I still think there's going to be points, but everything's going to get spread too thin in the passing offense. Let me get that. And then lastly, I'll say Texans D against the chalkiest quarterback on the slate that we know can still make some mistakes. I got no problem with that either, even if you want to pair him with Joe Mixon. Hoop, before we go to this next game, we did hit. So first of all, thank you guys all for watching that are here. There's over 1,000 people watching on the first Sunday of the season live. So we certainly appreciate that. The likes have already crossed 500. I don't even know if we crossed 500 last season. To get there halfway through the show is amazing. So we appreciate all the support for that. What's the giveaway going to be? I did this. I did put it out there. So I'll throw this up. Just how I'm saying, are they going to get it? Because we're already giving away one annual football membership with Shiptimizer. So the optimizer will come with it. And then I gave them 100 break. I know it slows down when we hit the first goal, but if we can get to 900, I said 1,000 earlier, 900, and we'll give away a second and double down. Do you just want them to talk about their favorite features of the stone and the stuff they've seen so far, or do you have something else in mind?
Yeah. I mean, I'd say how they think they can apply this to their process, how they think they can apply the stone to their DFS process on a weekly basis.
Awesome. All right. I like that. I'm going to throw it up there on the top. That's for the first giveaway. So if you're not a member and you're seeing this for the first time, let us know just to go from there.
Wait, is this legit about Tyreek?
I'm seeing Twitter and I'm seeing these videos, like multiple videos.
Stop.
Where is this?
Go on Twitter and just type in Tyreek Hill at the top and go, like, you'll see.
How does
this is where we can apply the
Scotty.
PGA
Yeah, I was seeing this.
Please tell us this is the Scotty Scheffler.
I mean, I'm seeing all these videos where he's in cuffs and there's plenty of cops around him.
All right, here we go. This is breaking news, guys. So we're not just stopping the show for this, but Tyreek is legit. He's in handcuffs. If this is from, it says outside Hard Rock Stadium.
Hard Rock, yeah.
Today's opener, man. I've been there too, man. Club 11. You don't want to be there the night before game time. So come on.
No, you don't. I've been there.
I mean, what could Tyreek have done going to week one that like you're on the ground in handcuffs?
Oh,
right.
Man, he ain't playing, man.
For speeding, someone said. I mean,
the real Scotty Scheffler. Hoop, you want to say don't talk about Scotty?
I just said this is where you can, but the problem is you've already used two PGA analogies in this NFL.
Foreshadowing, my friend.
Going to a third is a little bit risky. But this one's applicable. This one's definitely
wow.
This one real applicable.
I will say don't pump the unders because if he doesn't play, it's voided, and if he plays, it's not going to be. So I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, that's a good call out, actually. So like that one, and it's so crazy. It's literally the game we just landed on, trying to talk about a giveaway. And next thing you know, it's, Tyreek giving his game away, it looks like, because he's not going to be in the mix. I mean, this is –
Scotty still teed off that day. Hey, just a little later. Are they going to push the game back for Tyreek?
Doubt it.
Wow. I wonder what it's for.
I mean, he doesn't have the squeaky, clean track record that Scotty Scheffler does. So
someone said speeding, but who knows? Like, why is he getting cuffs on his speed?
Hey,
Who knows?
Speculation Nation. Let us know in the chat what you think it's for. The foreshadow masters in the building.
Maybe that's the giveaway. What did Tyreek Hill get arrested for?
What did Tyreek Hill get arrested for?
You got to apply it to something SHIPIT Nation. So what did Tyreek Hill get arrested for? But you have to apply it to something related to SHIPIT Nation.
Someone said child support. So Title, let's do this then, because this is what we do, right? We got to adjust on the fly. That is DFS for you. That's what we're all about. We're doing it in the Discord daily at SHIPIT Nation. I think that's kind of the key. We have to talk. We now have to bring back our favorite thing. Title, what is it? If then. Maybe we got if then situation now with this game. If Tyreek is in, we know what to do. We know what everybody is doing already. We don't need this. Another one. He is the Scotty Scheffler, to Hoop's point, 22.6. He's the most optimal on the slate that we have coming in. So if he's in, we know what to do. If he's not in, this is a good one off the top. Like our Discord this morning, the stone was a little messed up. Punched a guy because the stone had a projection too low. The people didn't like the numbers. So got arrested for going Tambo on us. Too many PGA analogies. But Title, talk to us about this game. Jags, Dolphins. Let's get back to it here. And we'll as we get more news, we'll let them know.
Yeah, I'll touch on Dolphins side. I mean, Tyreek Hill was going to be probably the chalkiest receiver. One of the chalkiest. 8,700 was way too cheap. Minus 125 to score. One of the best on the slate. One of the highest totals on the game. Good, he had so much working for him. But if he's out, I mean, Jalen Waddle's price was already way too low. So Jalen Waddle would become the chalk of all chalk at 6,300. A chain at 6,800 would get a big boost. You have to raise his touch floor. Makes Mostert, who I know people were already trying to talk about and make work because we saw it so many times last year. I mean, the chain and Mostert got there together so many times. I wasn't going to mess with that because the price was too close. But if there is no Tyreek, they're going to play more two running back sets. So they're going to use Mostert more, a chain more in the backfield, like pass catching wise, Mostert maybe between the tackles. So I think that would throw him in play as a leverage. And again, I'm speaking out loud because I wasn't planning all this. Wheelchair.
Yes. He's suggested for that. That's like an arrest at SHIPIT Nation for sure. Go ahead.
No, yeah. Yes. It makes me like Tua way less for sure because everyone that would play Tua would just go Waddle. The biggest bumps are by far a chain and Waddle. Mostert, I think, would become a little interesting, sneaky. Again, projected ownership means a ton there. I don't want to play like Braxton Berrios when Yoshi's probably the same price, or I mean OBJ. I didn't even know he was. Yeah, I thought he was on the IR to start. We have him at 0 there. It's going to be a chain and Waddle that get the biggest bumps, and that's probably really all I'd mess with. Maybe Mostert pivot. The Jag side, very similar to the Texans. They just get
breaking news, Schefter. He was detained by police today, entering the stadium for a driving violation, per his agent. But he will play today. Said will play today. Okay,
cool. Driving violation. The dude's on the ground in cuffs.
It's crazy how quick this news just transpires nowadays. Imagine 10 years ago trying to get this information.
Yeah, so throw everything out about Waddle's still a good play. A chain's still a good play. There's somewhat pivots off a hill, but now Tua's more in play. Again, it's really just a chain. Tyreek, Waddle, Tua. I don't like Mostert as a pivot. The price is too high. The Jags side is the interesting side. It feels like the last game we talked about. Jags is like Texans. Colts is like Dolphins. Very concentrated on the Colts side. The Jags, you have all the options. Lawrence with the very good tight end option at Evan Ingram. I will be playing a good amount of him. Love Christian Kirk. Way too cheap at 5.5. Then they got two new toys. Brian Thomas, the rookie. Gabe Davis as well. Both I like way more in Trevor Lawrence stuff. But they're going to be low owned because there's other good, better pivots, projected pivots, right in their range. And then ETN, he's another one of those guys kind of near JT. Yeah, the price is a little lower, but people are going to go Kenneth Walker, White, a chain. They're not going to go that extra couple hundred for ETN. I like playing him. If you're playing a Waddle, ETN, Tyreek, Tua, something like that, he's a good run back. Good game. So many options on the Jag side. I'm definitely in on Trevor Lawrence because there's so many options. I like Lawrence more than Tua, and I'll mainly be focused on Tyreek, Waddle, a chain on the other side.
Yeah. Hoop, your takes on it, man? Just obviously we got the news pretty quick there. Like you said, it's crazy how fast the news moves. We were supposed to be talking about Hawk Tua at this game, and instead it's going to be the Tyreek prison game, somebody said. Now he's already out of cuffs, as they mentioned, but still something to mention. I don't think many people are going to change their lineups or anything like that, so you can go ahead and just take over from there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm weird, but I actually like him a hell of a lot more today. To me, it feels like this is something that will get it. I mean, he's obviously was the premier wide receiver play on the slate, but I just think that this will amp him up a little bit more. I actually like him. I'm going to bump the ownership at least a little, maybe 5, 6, 7% more for Tyreek today. I mean, clearly the top wide receiver play on the slate. I like the Tua stuff. I mean, this is similar to me. The Tua stuff is kind of similar to the Josh Allen in some respect, where we have the team, a very high team total. The team total for the Dolphins is higher than the Texans, higher than the Colts, higher than the Jaguars, but no one wants to play the quarterback. Probably actually more similar to maybe Stroud, looking like 3, 4, 5% for Tua. He's got Tyreek Hill. He's got Jalen Waddle, 2 of the top wide receivers. He has running backs that can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's at a kind of awkward price. A lot of people want to, stay in that 5K range for, 5K, low 6K range for a quarterback. He's 7K. Just massive upside. The Jaguars secondary is not very good. Like, give me Tua to Hill, give me Tua to Jalen Waddle. It's nice with him. You don't really need to do much else. Like, it's probably going to one of those 2 guys, and then you're good to go. So love the Miami stuff. I will have some A-Chain. Mostert, I probably won't have much of him, but I do like the A-Chain play. On the Jaguar side, I think it's also very appealing, likely, potentially playing from behind. I guess it is only a 3.5 point spread, but, I think the Dolphins win this game pretty easily, and I think the Jaguars are playing from behind. So give me some Trevor Lawrence, and the stacks with Lawrence are cheap. Like, Trevor Lawrence to Kirk. Kirk's only 5,500. This Brian Thompson Jr. 47. Gabe Davis 45. Evan Ingram, I think, is a great option, great pivot off of the Pitts chalk that we talked about. Pitts is going to be very popular at the tight end position. Evan Ingram is $1,100 more expensive, so I'm interested in him. A lot of different ways to go in this game. ETN's the one guy I don't necessarily love. I like him more on FanDuel opposed to DraftKings. Like, he's 72 on DK, which is a little more expensive than a lot of running backs that I like, but 75 on FanDuel. He's right in that same range as a lot of solid options there. So it's a good game for fantasy purposes. The standout play for me in this game is definitely going to be Tua at very, very low ownership.
Was waiting for the Robbie Chosen takes. He obviously could activate. That could have been huge if Tyreek was out. It would have really
been.
Sign,
man. It's a sign.
But you could mix him in. He's the same price as Yoshi. Why don't you put him in your double stacks? There was a couple others. The Tyreek handcuff celebration, definitely a thing. I think he's going to snap him off in the end zone real quick or something like that, or maybe put his hands behind his back with the ball as he's running past someone and then showing a peace sign. It's possible. And
Antonio Brown's already on it too. You love to see that. I mean, this is Tyreek. He's going off today. There's no stopping him now.
Yeah, Tua, Tyreek. The Mostert one is interesting. Someone talked about it. The hate is real. I like it more if you aren't playing this game. A lot of people talked about this earlier. Obviously, our stack rankings like it quite a bit. We've got it tagged up here for what people are doing within this game, but tons of ways to get different within it, like the Thomas stuff. Kirk is getting talked about, but not probably getting clicked enough just because he's sort of in there with all those other popular dudes. Waddle makes some sense here and is much lower than Tyreek. You talked about Jake the Take had Jonnu Smith there. That's another way to go. Tua, Tyreek, Jonnu Smith, a way to just get an extra added piece. I just think in general, there's other ways to go within this game that you can do. But if you're not playing the passing game, don't be afraid to put someone like Mostert in to just jam 3 touchdowns. And that would be how they score their points. If you're still wanting to get a piece of the big total here in the action.
Yeah, similar to the Texans Colts situation. If you're under on the passing game, like fire up some of these running backs. Get on Mixon, get on Jonathan Taylor. If you don't have a lot of Stroud or Anthony Richardson, just a natural. It's like in baseball. I hate to use other sport analogies because I gave you shit for it, but in baseball where you don't play a popular pitcher, and you stack the offense against them. Very similar in this situation where you're not playing the passing game, you're playing the running game, double leverage situation.
What do we got? A Jackie Love reference next?
Yeah. Yeah. Here we go. Shohei Ohtani of the Saints. Who's going to be here? Let's go, Title. I'll kick it back to you. We got the Panthers, Saints. I think we're getting we got one more morning game, and then we're going to get to these afternoon games. Some of them will go quicker than others, but just to note it. But Panthers, Saints, take it over.
Yeah, this one quick for me. Easy game. Kamara with the Saints D. Bryce Young can't throw it more than 15 yards downfield. Chuba on the other side. Jonathan Brooks is on the IR to start. Starting running back, 5,300. The floor is play. Like, he's got to fall in the box once, but definitely in play for the price. And I'm on Chris Olave this year pretty heavily. So 6,600 ownership should stay in check. Big time upside. Kamara with Saints D, Olave, Chuba. I don't mind Deontay Johnson, but no strong take here. So that's it.
Hoop, I'll kick it over to you. You mentioned off the top a little bit. The Alvin Kamara one's interesting to me too, because it sounds like he's also getting talked about a lot more than I actually believe he's going to get clicked. I don't know. Could be wrong. I kind of like our number. Other places had him higher, but I just wonder when you have all those other cheap dudes, when you have the pay up options, I at least think he's held in check, and I could see this sort of coming back a little bit from this number. So just any other thoughts on these two teams here?
Yeah, not a ton. Like Chuba Hubbard, I think, is fine. He's cheap, has a chance. I know a lot of people like the Panthers to win this game as well. The Sanders guy, like you have highlighted, 2,500, cheap tight end. On the Saints side, yeah, Kamara, Olave, interested in both those guys, but that's about it. Like, I'm not playing the quarterbacks here. I guess the thing that interests me the most would be these running backs and Olave, but nothing that's going to be like a core play or anything for me. Kamara obviously could be. I think he's in a pretty good spot, but just not an exciting fantasy game here.
Millionaire Mark, a boy, one of the Million Maker winners from the nation, supporting. Appreciate you. I know you were out in Italy enjoying your time. That's nice. Back for football, though. Love to see it. So welcome back. I think we're about to hit 600 likes again. If we hit 900, give away another membership. Hoop's going to go back and sort of find out what some of those comments were. We will get an annual football membership out the door today to someone. I would say, you said Hubba Bubba, Chuba Hubbard up in there. He looks all right to me. I will say, if you are going to go to Kamara and you want to kind of try and slice that ownership up, you talk about product ownership. If you think he's coming in at a decent number and you want to slice it up, I'm going to this high upside, the other side. I never heard anybody mention this name this week. He's showing some ownership. I don't know if I believe it, but Deontay Johnson, they talk about him in this new offense, just racking up catches, all this stuff, but yet nobody this week wanted to talk about it. It was all offseason. They mentioned it, but in this matchup, they're not mentioning or just no need to go there maybe, but I think in tournaments, good little secondary stack there. And then Jatavion Sanders, just a stone min. We talked about it earlier. You just want to kill off your tight end spot and just be done with it. I'm fine with that too. Like, you can always just take that type of stand. You could have a Kamara Sanders mini, and then you're paying what, 67, 77, 87, 9,200 for this little combo pack. That's not bad for what it could be. So I don't hate that. And then I think over on FanDuel, people were talking about getting Taysom Hill into their life, but I'm not sure who. You usually got the FanDuel takes there. You know, he can get 2 touchdowns himself, obviously, multiple different ways. Anything else to add on with him? If not, you can take us to this Vikings-Giants game.
Pretty low total here. I mean, two teams that appear to, not their outlook this season is not very high, I guess is one way to put it. On the Vikings side, I'm a little more optimistic in Sam Darnold being able to carry this offensive competently. I'm not saying they're going to be super successful or be a good team this year, but like, he's been in the league, like he's had some shining moments. I think he can be competent enough to have this offense moving a little bit. And that makes me like Justin Jefferson at low ownership. I mean, we're showing 6%. We have the salary to get him in there this week. Like, I like Justin Jefferson more than most because I think Darnold is not as bad as people think, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. Aaron Jones can catch the ball in the backfield. I think he's fine. Really cheap on FanDuel at under 7K. 65 on DK is not bad, but under 7K on FanDuel I think is okay. Jordan Addison should be very low owned. I don't hate that play either. And then you get another cheap tight end in Johnny Munt at 2,900. So I'm somewhat optimistic about the Vikings offense, which makes me want to take an overweight stance on Justin Jefferson, which I will have today. On the Giants side, we were talking a little bit before the show, and everyone's liking Malik Neighbors here for sure, and for all the right reasons. He looks to be a stud. He's cheap at 5,900. Probably another guy where his price tag is as cheap as it's going to be all season long. But no one wants to play Daniel Jones to go along with him, and I get it. Daniel Jones probably sucks at quarterback. There's no doubt, but he's had some Slate winning fantasy performances over the course of the last couple seasons. He's only 5,400 on DraftKings. Ownership is looking very low. A guy that I'm going to get exposure to today as a pivot to some of these other running quarterbacks. Everyone's excited about Caleb Williams and the Washington guy. Like, everyone wants to, Jaden Daniels. Everyone wants to play those guys. I'm going to get a little bit of Daniel Jones today at 5,400. I don't mind Devin Singletary at 57 and 63 on FanDuel is very, very cheap. And then another potential cheap tight end in Theo Johnson. I'd probably only play him in those Daniel Jones stacks, though. So a game I'm going to be higher on than most, I'd say.
Sneaky game. You scroll down again, the Stones got it covered. And what we don't have, there's a piece of information missing. I know it's not what this show is usually about, but when Daniel Jones was playing previously, I don't think he was with Kay Adams. And so he stepped his game up a little bit. He stepped his life up a little bit. We might see a little bit more out of our guy, Daniel Jones here. I think the chat said it too. You could play a guy like Robinson with him. You can play, if everyone loves Neighbors, it's another premium example of what we talked about earlier. You can play it like Jones, Neighbors, one of Slayton or Robinson or Theo Johnson if you want to for another punt tight end, and then run it back the other side with Jefferson. No doubt that's the guy that we want to go to on that side, I think. And then same thing with Darnold. You don't have to go all the way, but don't sleep on your boy, Johnny Munt, the punt. This could be the guy today. If you go down here, you get Darnold, Jefferson, Munt, and then you get Neighbors on the other side. The only guy that's popular in any of that is Neighbors, and for good reason. So if it is the case that Darnold, Jefferson, and Munt get out there and get the job done, boom, Neighbors on the other side. I do like this game. It's another one that the total will throw people away from it, but it's two quarterbacks that we could just see go a little bit back and forth, and they have the options to take them to the promised land. And I'll let you talk about your guy, Title. You got the jersey on. JJ, he's out there watching some Netflix, man. The guy's just an incredible dude, right? You just see what he's all about. A lot of talk now about, the contract talks, how he handled it versus Jamar Chase right now, which, by the way, real quick, in that whole frenzy of Tyreek, Jamar Chase on the field practicing in full geared up pads, everything. So we're going to be talking about that as well. But go ahead there, Title, take over. Vikings, Giants.
Yeah, not much needs to be said about the best receiver in football, 6%, even if he comes in 9, 10, definitely playing him. I'm with both of you guys, and I never expected. I thought I was going to catch some flack. Hoop on the Danny Dimes. I'm with you, 2%. He has some rushing upside. This is the sneaky game. I have a take that weighs the stone. You guys like it. Easily Danny Dimes with Neighbors. I think Wandale is really interesting at 4-1. Nobody's going to go there. We played him a lot in Showdown and stuff last year. Just a slot receiver will get peppered with targets, especially Danny Dimes, who will really only look at Neighbors or Robinson because he can't get to his third read. Love Singletary. Love Aaron Jones. Two running backs. We have sub 10%. RB1s. Look at Tyrone Tracy, the rookie. Singletary very well might get 20-plus touches in this game, which is getting overlooked at home. Solid out of the backfield, catching the ball as well. Aaron Jones on the other side, I mean, he always runs hard. He can catch the ball in the backfield. With Darnold, do you think they want to rely on the run a little bit? This game's low-owned. I love Jones. I like Singletary. I like Jefferson. I like Neighbors. Then I like Wandale, but it's more Wandale in Danny Dimes stuff. But yeah, I think it's clear as day on both sides, concentrated. And I will say the tight ends too. Yeah, I don't hate those two as cheap tight ends. Hawkinson's on the pup, so Munt gets it to start. Oliver, they'll both mix in more pass blocking or run blocking tight ends, but you can fall in the box at 29. It makes it work. Theo, athletic guy, has had some hype coming out of preseason as well. So
yeah, I like this. I like them both, but I think if it's Darnold, I'm probably just going Jefferson and Munt. Like, that's how I'm setting it up. I know some people want to get in early on Addison, still at a cheap price, some off-season stuff, things like that. But for me, I'm just setting it up both sides here. I do like, and Hoop, they said it. That could be the Dak call. When you call a guy that's dust, Danny Dust was really the take. Danny Dimes used to be a thing, but Danny Dust came out of the woodworks, and now you're telling us he's the guy, a business decision. Business decision, Danny Dimes. That could
it really could be. It really could be the week one business decision. No joke. I mean, coming in low owned, like, and what was the stat last time he played the Vikings? He went off. It's like it's lining up. All three of us, we typically don't love the same stuff. We're all kind of on it. Like, this could be the consensus business decision today, boys.
Ship It Nation goes down with Danny Dimes. Uh-oh, what could go wrong?
Yes, it could also be the Ship It Nation donation. Where it's worth a shot. We got to take our chances here. So let's move on. We get to these afternoon games finally, just about to cross 600 likes, almost 1,100 watching. So we're looking for like that 60, 65%. It keeps it free, keeps it fun. Just do us a favor, smash the like. If you're watching it on replay, you can do the same. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. When we get to 8,000 subscribers, going to keep giving away memberships, but 10K will be the huge giveaway. So keep that in mind as you're hitting that subscribe button. Title, go to you here. Raiders, Chargers, quick, just because you sort of finished the last one out for us. Take us into this one, and then we'll move to Hoop after that.
Yeah, not a game I really have much interest. Raiders side, pretty much just Zamir White. Like, you can obviously play some Devontae, but I like Chase. I like Jefferson. I like some Olaves. You can't play everyone, so he's someone I won't have much of. Really just Zamir White or bust in that same Singletary, Rashad White range that's loaded at running back. Chargers, they're just a team I'm not really going to play much this year because Harbaugh literally just wants to run the football every single down if he can with a plethora of guys there. I don't feel confident if it's going to be Gus or JK. I think it's more split. But my favorite is Palmer and Ladd McConkey. Again, concerned that they don't throw the ball too much, but Quentin Johnson had one of the worst preseasons you ever could have. Both prices are very affordable. And anytime you see a cheaper FanDuel price than DK, you know it stands out. So Josh Palmer on FanDuel will carry a good amount of ownership because of that price tag.
Yeah, I think you're right there. And I think some people, have been talking about the Herbert with the double stack or whatever, but Palmer is the one that stands out. Chargers D going against Minshew, but if you want to on the other side, so I don't mind Zamir White. And I think Devontae Adams definitely fits the bill of what we talked about earlier. Not comparing players, quarterbacks, skill levels, nothing. I'm saying if you were going to play Devontae Adams, though, I would prefer to have at least one, and you can do this on the site with Shiptimizer, with the optimizer. You can go to player groups and set it up where you get Justin Herbert, you can get Devontae Adams, and you can get Minshew in, and just make sure you've got one of those quarterbacks with it if you're doing it. So just to note it, if you are going to stack this game up either side and want to get Adams in, I would want to have one of the quarterbacks. So whether it's, Herbert, Palmer, Adams, or it's Minshew, Adams, Palmer, whatever. But I think the defenses, especially the Chargers, Zamir White, maybe some opportunity. As you see, we've got him tagged here for a little bit of opportunity. Hoop, anything to add on this one?
Yeah, just not a very interesting game for me. A little bit of Zamir White, a little bit of Devontae Adams. I'll be mostly fading the Chargers side. I don't mind Hayden Hurst for another cheap tight end. Palmer on FanDuel, but I don't know. I think the Raiders win this game, and I just think it's like a 17-14 game or something. I don't like it at all.
And one quick note too, Brock Bowers, $100 less than Kyle Pitts. I'm not saying it's the one, but again, if you were messing around with this game stack or doing something, you would be getting off the chalk already. And then you'd be able to fit another piece in there like Minshew, Adams, Bowers, run it back with Palmer. Probably donating, but just noting it. So stick with you, Hoop. Broncos, Seahawks. This was your Hawk Tua from yesterday. We talked about you had the Walk Tua with Walker and Tua, Hawks. It all goes together, but we move past that. What are you doing here with this one? I know sort of Walker stands out as a guy that's going to be a bit popular, but there's takes on Geno. Good stack ranking for us. And then Broncos, all GPP plays. I know Seahawks D's getting talked up a little, but give us your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I just think it's a clean win for Seattle here. And I don't know, just no interest in the Broncos. There's nothing on that side that is appealing to me. I mean, they're all low owned. So, I mean, maybe it's a way to get leverage if you do have interest, but it's definitely not for me on the slate. Seahawks, I think, win this game. I really like Kenneth Walker. 6,100 on DK, 74 on FanDuel. One of those situations where, I mean, yeah, Geno has treated me well in the past. I mean, he's on the Millie Maker team a couple of years ago, but I don't know. I just like the other guys in that range, like, Daniel Jones, we just talked about. I prefer him over Geno. So I'm not going to be on this passing game all that much, which makes me want to be on Walker more. I will have some Metcalf. I will have some JSN. But I won't be stacking up the Seahawks passing attack. So really, I mean, the main play for me in this game is Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, it's going to happen in 2 games from now, and kind of this one for me too, title, but I'm going to have a lot of Walker. So what's going to happen is that's going to lead to having some Geno Smith with Metcalf, JSNs, and then, you don't even have to run it back. But just to note it, anytime that's getting steamed up even further, and I expect it to be higher than this actually when we get to game time, if I think they can put up the points, it could obviously be Geno and this passing game. People talking about Fant, revenge game, all this. Don't care too much about that. But just to note, like, I could see just stacking somewhat of this side, but you don't have to go crazy, and you don't have to run it back if you don't want to either. What's your thoughts on this one?
Couldn't have said it any better for my thoughts. People are going to go Kenneth Walker. I think a good play, but when that gets steam, which I think he will, big favorites at home, makes a lot of sense. Geno with multiple options, DK, Lockett, JSN, Fant. Can totally see how that gets there. So yeah, I'll probably be overweight on Seattle stuff as well for all those reasons. Denver side, just Javonte Williams or nothing, has looked a bunch of preseason hype on him. Looks like he has a firm grasp on that running back room, which is important because, they mix in McLaughlin, P. Ryan. I mean, back in the day, you had no clue. Javonte gets 20-plus touches. I will bet on talent all day there. So, yeah, I'm on the same stuff.
Yeah, they're still talking about Jamar Chase and seeing if he's going to be there on the field with full pads, like our guy Kenny said, but I think it's going to be we'll wait and see. I expect him to play, though. If he's out there doing that, I expect him to sort of come through. Like I said, those Jefferson comments came out that probably made him just think about it for a second. Say, I'm just going to keep going to work, do my job, and then to show him what's up. But
go put up 150 today and show why you got to get paid.
Yeah, and then maybe the bill goes up and tell him, give me that $1 more than the last one. But CD Lamb got paid, obviously. This is another note, too, on our stack rankings. Geno, DK, JSN. But this is also what we talk about all the time. Nades and I always talk about this on the review show. That's another thing. The Takedown Breakdown Mondays on this channel. Subscribe. We go back and talk through all this stuff. You guys could even tag me on X at ToeTagginTambo, some of your lineups, and maybe we'll bring them up for review on Monday. If you did well, if you didn't do well, you want to talk about it more, have no problem you guys doing that. We'll try and keep that show very interactive. But if you're not playing Geno, it makes sense that, okay, if I'm not playing that passing game, maybe I go to Kenneth Walker. But if you're not playing Kenneth Walker, maybe you can go to a stack that ranks higher in the stack ranking. So it's just some of the stuff we teach, some of the stuff that we look at over here. Hoop, go ahead.
No, yeah, that was me that pulled it up. Drop that in the Discord if you can, Kenny, because that obviously would change my thoughts. I'm not trying to pay $7,800 or whatever for 20 snaps, but
I don't think he's a lock to play today. Just reading through some of this stuff.
So yeah, that's going to be big to monitor. And
yeah, that's big news.
This guy, who's Condon? Condon says good chance he's active for week 1.
Yeah, I saw that, but man, I don't know. It's a dicey situation. I mean, all this talk will definitely bring his ownership down. And if it gets super low, I mean, if you're doing 150, like
I will say, 20 to 30, and if they're almost all passes, which why are you having him out there to run block? Like he can get there in that, I guess. So I don't know what I'm doing either.
Here's the snap count tweeter post out there about that because I don't see it.
Yeah, let us know, Kenny, in the Discord.
Right. Someone just said it was on NFL Network. Is expected to play, but on a snap count, man, definitely not fading that. I'll tell you guys, I played enough DFS for my lifetime. I know why you may not want to, like Title said he's not as interested. We've seen this a million times. Oh, they're only going to play this many, and then Hawkinson has 10 catches at the halftime. Oh, they're only going to play in the top situations. George Kittle is banged up. Yeah, he plays in the 3 touchdowns that he needs to score when they get to the red zone. Like you can still rack it up. So it's not going to, it's not ideal, but it's not going to fully scare me away. Hoop, I'll go to you here. Cowboys, Browns. I don't think anyone's clicking much in this game, but any thoughts on this one? I mean, this is one where if you get it right, you're going to be way different than the field because nobody is stacking up your boy Dak with CD, with anything going on there. Jerome Ford maybe gets a little love, but not much else. Lamb, I don't even know if he gets to 10%, so we'll see. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of questions about the Dak stuff. Obviously, he made us a shit ton of money last year, and the community, did very well hopping on Dak's back. But this is not the spot. Like this is probably one of the worst spots to open up the season in Cleveland. They have a very good defense. The CD Lamb contract stuff is obviously a distraction. I'm out on the Cowboys in every way, shape, or form. Like there'll be weeks. Don't get me wrong. There's going to be some weeks where we're back on Dak. We're back on CD and maybe some of these other pieces, but for me, this is not it. I will have some CD, but it's not going to be with Dak. Jerome Ford, fine option. Like if I think the Browns are going to win this game, which I think they do pretty easily, I have to have some Jerome Ford. I like the Browns defense, and that'll primarily be it for me in this game. Some CD, some Ford, some Browns defense. If I get anything else, it'll just be small sprinkles.
Yeah, we saw the O-line issues with the Ravens on Thursday Night Football. I mean, that stuff can happen for sure. I don't mind this call, and the defense was actually my main interest here. And if you want to put him with Ford, then fine. But, Amari Cooper, maybe on, I don't even know. You can play him on both sites. Just the old school thing. We should know, too, I think you mentioned it off the top quick title, but maybe those that just joined us. The FanDuel also, or it was the show the other day, added the bonuses. So they have the 300-yard passing bonus for 3 points. They have the 3 points for the 100 yards on the ground, and the 3 points for the 100 yards through the air receiving. So there is bonuses over there. Used to be more because of like the touchdown upside that you want versus the full point PPR and the bonuses. They still are a half point PPR. So just to note that. But I guess Cooper would be the only other one that I would mention. Any quick thoughts from you on this game title? And then we'll move on to a much bigger, more popular game.
Jerome Ford and Browns D, just like Hoop said. Cowboys too expensive. No Nick Chubb, obviously, to start the year. So Ford just kind of like Chuba. He has no really competition, like Singletary talked about. I'll take that.
All right, and this is the last one we'll cover. The other game I know is on the FanDuel slate, but we're going to have showdown coverage for that over on the site. We're going to have everything there. We don't like to spend 100 hours on this show. If you guys want it, less is more is the motto. We want to try and get it to you. So to round out the DraftKings main slate, let's talk about Commanders and Bucks. Title, I'll stay with you because we moved through quickly on that one. But this is a target game for us. This is a spot. There's so many options on both sides, and then just how you're going to be handling them. So take us through this one here, Commanders Bucks.
Yeah, a great game to target on both sides. Commanders defense is going to be awful this year. We see Rachaad White. He's going to be one of the most popular running backs on the slate. Now, I think he's fine play, but I'm a little hesitant, especially in tournaments, because they did draft Bucky Irving. There have been coach talks like they're going to ride the hot hand a little bit. Again, I think that's more so as the season goes on. If White's a little inefficient, Bucky plays well. We'll see that gap close. Still, White's a good play today, but kind of like we talked about with Kenneth Walker. If everyone's going to go that route, I like Baker Mayfield today. Easy. Mike Evans, smash spot today. Ownership looks to be relatively in check. I like Chris Godwin in Baker Mayfield lineups. I don't mind going K. Dotton like you said there. But Baker, Mike Evans, Godwin, I really like those three. And you can play Baker and Rachaad White in the same lineup too. A lot of his work is catching out of the backfield as well, so don't mind that one bit. The Daniels side, I think they're going to be trailing, which is a reason to like him. He has a lot of rushing upside, which is a reason to like him. But a rookie quarterback making his debut on the road against a solid defense is not something I love to buy in on. So I definitely prefer the Bucs side. Daniels has upside, a clear pairing with Terry McLaurin. Zach Ertz has got hype, I guess. Like Sanat, I thought was going to be tight end one through him for most of the offseason. It is Zach Ertz. It's really tough clicking that Zach Ertz name. I don't love the Daniels side really too much. I don't like the running game. Terry's fine, but this Bucs side, absolutely. Passing game, running game, but I prefer passing game in tournaments.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing when people have these takes. I'm not saying you're right, wrong, whatever. I'm just betting that anytime touchdown then. Or bet it, first touchdown, a small sprinkle in anytime and make money. Like it's just, I don't think it's going to be a separator for DFS. It's like the Irwin stuff earlier. If you can find overs on his receptions and his yards and all that and parlay them together, I'm good with that. Or you want to bet the anytime touchdown, I don't think it's going to change the slate because they're not owned enough. They're 0.01% on the slate, and you need everything else to go perfect with it on top. And I know that's what people say DFS is, but it doesn't matter as much. So that's kind of the setup there. Going through it. Some people are just catching up here now. And then to Jay's point here, before I go to you on this last one, Hoop, this is the whole point. We talked about it earlier with Malik Neighbors. He's been getting hyped all week. If Malik Neighbors has a 2-touchdown, 100-yard game, it's a pretty good game for Danny Dimes. He threw them both probably. He's got the running on the ground. He's got other receptions that he can get the 300-yard bonus. There can be so many other factors that go with it. So it's fine for Godwin to be chalk and be hyped and all of this, but you can play Baker with him and run it back with McLaurin or run it back with a Noah Brown, a Zach Ertz. Like there's a bunch of different ways you can game stack, pair it up, move it around, where while you are playing a popular player that's been getting quote unquote hyped up all week, but then you're getting them in a different way and you're fitting everything else in around it. That's really what it's all about. So go ahead here, Hoop. Final one here. The likes, we had got like 750 or something. I might've just covered the last game just because we're, want to be after it, but we'll leave that to be seen for now. Hoop, I'll let you talk about Commanders Bucks.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not as excited, I think, as most in this game. I mean, the total is... Can
I just get 2 seconds? Because breaking news on stuff. Sorry, man. One is Fields will for sure start. That's definitely important to this slate. And 2 is Jamar Chase did not get his contract, but your boy, Dak Prescott, just got signed to a big boy contract. I was just trying to find the exact numbers on here, but it's a 4-year, $250 million extension. So
stupid. I mean, no, I mean, that's a terrible contract. I mean, again, the point remains unchanged with Dak. Like, he cannot win football games like when they matter. Like, they got their ass kicked in the playoffs last year.
There's the take. Kenny knows, man. Kenny's our boy, playing at the highest stakes, nosebleeds, just crushes. Says he got his money. That's game over now. He's happy. He's locking the Browns D.
I'd say that's one of the worst contracts out there. I mean, Dak is not Dak is not the dude. Like, he's not the guy to win you NFL playoff games. But good for Dallas. They got their guy. Good for him. And good for us because he made us a shit ton of money last year. But this Commanders-Bucks game, I like some of the individual pieces more than the game altogether. Like, I'll have some Jaden Daniels to McLaurin. I will have some Zach Ertz. Like, we keep trying to count Zach Ertz out, and he just continues to get the job done. Like, if he's in there, whatever team he's on, if he's in there, his ass is getting targets. And we've seen that over the course of the many years now. So I will have some Zach Ertz. I like the Rachaad White stuff. I know a lot of people are talking about Bucky, taking some work. Rachaad White last year got basically everything. Do I think he gets absolutely everything this season? No, probably not. But at his price, he doesn't need everything. I like Evans individually. I'm fine with Godwin. I don't love the Baker Mayfield side of it just because he's got to beat so many of those rushing quarterbacks. Like, he's going to have to put up huge yardage, 3 touchdowns, I think, to be the guy you need today. So I'll be out on Baker, but in on his weapons, in on a little bit of Cade Otton. Different week, yeah, maybe I'm in on Baker, but we have so many guys priced right around him that I think just have more upside that he's going to have to beat out. So not as interested in him. It's kind of Zach Ertz, I think, is one that is interesting. People are going to be hesitant to play him because everyone thinks his age and all that. But man, he just always gets targets. So I think he could be the key play for me in this game.
Yeah, people aren't going away. I think we will just cover the last game. I don't mind. It's only a few minutes longer. And Hoop, you still got to go pick out first of all, you got to pick out the winner for the football annual membership, but also it is your Lions. You got the hoodie on. We got to get that in. FanDuel's got it. My takes are, I already said them pretty much, but just on that last one, secondary stacks too, like White, McLaurin are fine because their price tags are both so small. If you want to play Baker, like Baker with Evans and Otton or something, like, to get different that way, definitely think that's an option you could go to as well. We don't have everything fully filled in yet for this because it is FanDuel only. But just to note, it does look there. The stuff's in there. I'm just not fully color coded. Go ahead there, Hoop. You got it?
Yeah. So I picked out Kevin's comment. We kind of started the giveaway at a bad time because it was right when the Tyreek Evans news broke. So there was not many comments to choose from. But Kevin's definitely stood out. Kind of couple plays at the jokes. I mean, I know the wheelchair thing is played out, but I mean, it can't leave us. I mean, it's a part of our identity.
Incorporating both as well. We love it. He's talking about what we have for tools, talking about process and why it's not just say, stick to your process or find one. We actually have an educational course that's 4 hours for NFL that you can skip ahead to whatever you want to find out and learn, and then bring questions to the Discord and get access to all of us to find out more. And then he incorporates a couple of the jokes with your mower and then the wheelchair, of course, as well. So Kevin, reach out, info@shipitnation.com. We'll get you set up with your membership, man. You'll be good to go for the full season, including full access to Shiptimizer, which we're going to have more updates to here shortly. It looks like it was just updated a little while ago, but we'll get more in before the start of the slate. Let's do this last game quick then, boys. We'll just run through it just to give them the extra. Rams, Lions, I'll pop it up on the screen. Hoop, it's your boys. I know we're leaving title out for a minute here, but you want to talk about them first? Just talk about the Lions, Rams, because on FanDuel it is there and it is interesting. There's $1 million up top there in a couple times.
Yeah, so the main focus obviously for this game will be on the showdown slate. It is interesting that FanDuel added the Sunday night game back in, and really what does that do for ownership of the players in this game? Do people want to play these guys, and do they backload, or do people like, no, I just want to play the guys on the main side? I think ownership's going to kind of be hard to project for this game this first week, assuming they continue to keep the Sunday night game on here. But it is very appealing from a fantasy perspective, and the price tags are very nice on some of these guys, both quarterbacks 7,500 or below. The wide receivers I'd say are very cheap. Cooper Kupp at $7K, Amon-Ra at 89, even Puka at 84. Sam Laporta is the Sam Laporta thing is interesting. We talked about it on the Cash Game show on Friday. He's like one of the only people on the slate on DraftKings or on FanDuel where you look at the price and say, oh my gosh, like how did he get that high? 8K for Sam Laporta when we have just all the other guys like way cheaper. I think that is a very interesting tournament play because people are not going to want to go there. So that definitely stands out to me. Jamison Williams at 58. I think he has a massive season this year. I want to be on him more times than not. So I think it's an interesting dynamic. Curious to see if they keep it on the main slates, but go Lions, obviously rooting for my boys tonight.
I like this on FanDuel anyway, but it's the fact that it's only over there is all you can play. But the pricing, so like Kupp seems way low, but like people are shy on Puka. So because Stafford and Kupp are both so low, you could actually just play the passing game and play those three and then run it back with a guy like JMO, who the chat was already talking about. And that could just pop off tonight on both sides. And if you got that, climbing that leaderboard at the end of the day today, something to sweat while you've got your DraftKings showdown lineups in. We'll have full coverage for that over on the site as well. I think that's kind of the setup here. And then the other one I made fun of when they were talking about the punt returns for Kieran Williams, but you could just play your Rams Williams stack as well, going up against Jared Goff. Hope it doesn't go as well. You're avoiding some of these the price tags. It may just be natural. It's not that you don't like Laporta and St. Brown. It's like, if I can't get to them anyway, but I want a piece of this game at the end of the day, and I kind of like this spot, you could just get after it that way as well. So, Title, I'll get your quick final thoughts here, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, no, I agree with you guys a lot. We talk cash show. The receivers, Cooper Kupp looked way too cheap. So when that's the case, Puka looks really good for overspending, but Puka's the man. Amon-Ra, expect a monster year. It's the highest total, 52. So like we talked about the Jags Miami game. We talked about the Colts Texans. If DK had this game on the slate, there'd be a lot of chalk in this one as well. So don't forget about it. Maybe people shy away a little from the last game. So yeah, I like that game for sure. And Stafford, Goff with their main guys is definitely a play too.
Yeah, I like that call. It's going to be a fun day. Sort of all the stuff's going to start coming out for the main slate now. We're going to wrap up all of our content over on the site. We've got it all covered for the main slate. Showdown will be covered later. It's all here and more. If you don't want to sign up for the site, that's fine. Keep enjoying these shows, hitting the like, subscribing. You can get our free NFL DFS Showdown mini course. It's about 45 minutes discussing Showdown in a whole. So, a lot of good Showdown slates. We cover all those shows free on this channel. And then today is the last day. We extended it from the 5th, so we just got to let you know the early bird special is on. You can get the season, but there's also weekly and monthly. You just go to Join the Nation, single sport, weekly, monthly, annual. If you don't need Shiptimizer, you can get it as low as $249 for the whole season. And if you do want Shiptimizer, which we didn't spend a ton of time on today, but we showed it on the other shows, full tutorials and all, you get the classic and showdown slates for Thursday night, Monday night, and Sunday night football, weekly, monthly, annual, much less than the rest of the industry. Hoop, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Excited for this NFL season. It all starts today. We'll be in the Discord. All our content's already up and posted. Love to have you this NFL season joining our community. Very well-rounded community, a lot of like-minded individuals trying to build on that and build on our success from last NFL season, which is going to be tough to do, like we said, but we're confident that we have the team in place to make that happen. Join us, and let's go out and ship something today.
Yeah, we'll be in the Discord here shortly. We appreciate everybody for tuning in, smashing a like, gained a bunch of subscribers as we get on our drive for 8,000, which we'll have more giveaways at. We'll be back next week. Same time, a ton of other content. The Sunday Night Football show is just got recorded. We'll be coming out of the channel with our guy Ham and Nades. So just lots of good things going on. That's going to do it for week one, guys. Super excited to get back to it. For Hoop, for Title, for myself, ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it!
Obviously, I'm a part of the SHIPIT Nation community. I enjoy the Discord. I get a lot of information out of the Discord, and then I use the site, so all the Slate plans, Slate info, all that, the DVP stuff. I would say join a site because they do help and you get all the information and it saves you so much time.